Here we are, part 5 of Consider Yesterday. And this one by far I had very much anticipated. The past 4 videos have pretty much been a dismantling of the futurist view, showing how they must add and divide scriptures to create their theology. The Great Tribulation, though, allows for the best opportunity for me as a full preterist to show how and where these prophecies have been fulfilled in the past. So again, we will consider yesterday.
So what exactly is the tribulation?
Well, Q, being that you're the human dictionary, why don't you tell me what tribulation means?
I take it to mean a series of events, trials maybe, that test your spirit, your mind, your body, trials, I guess.
All right. So with that simple understanding of what a tribulation means, we continually see Jesus telling the disciples of a tribulation that is about to occur. We see this in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, of them asking him questions and him telling them what is about to happen within their time. The question is, why was the tribulation about to occur? What was the whole reason behind this? What was it needed for? What was the time of trial needed for? And with that, we're going to turn to Matthew chapter 11. And in Matthew chapter 11, we read, he's denouncing these cities that the people have already performed miracles in, that he's been to already. And he says to them, he says, "Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! If the miracles were performed in you that were performed in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ash. But I tell you, it will be more bearable for Tyre and Sidon in the day of judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be lifted up to the skies? No, you will go down to the depths. If the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Sodom, it would have remained to this day. But I tell you that it will be more bearable for Sodom on the day of judgment than for you." And then we go to chapter 12. And we read of Jesus standing in front of the Pharisees and them asking him to perform a miracle in their time. And he says, "A wicked and adulterous generation asks for a miraculous sign, but none will be given except for the sign of the prophet of Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh will stand up at judgment with this generation and condemn it. For they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and now one greater than Jonah is here. The queen of the south will rise up at judgment with this generation and condemn it. For she came from the ends of the earth to listen to Solomon's wisdom, and now one greater than Solomon is here. When an evil spirit goes out of a man, it goes through arid places seeking rest and does not find it. Then it says, I will return to the house I left. When it arrives, it finds the house unoccupied, swept clean and put in order. Then it goes and takes with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there. The final condition of the man is worse than the first. That is how it will be with this wicked generation." Now we can turn to Luke chapter 13. And in Luke 13, we have the Pharisees comes up to Jesus and basically tells him to leave because Herod wants to kill him. And he replies, "Go tell that fox I will drive out demons and heal people today and tomorrow, and on the 3rd day I will reach my goal. In any case, I must keep going today and tomorrow and the next day, for surely no prophet could die outside Jerusalem. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those who send to you. How often I have longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers your children together, gathers her chicks under her wings, but you are not willing. Look, your house is left desolate. I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And then we go to Luke chapter 19. We have Jesus, he's readying for his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. And the Pharisees begin to have issues with the things the disciples are saying of Jesus, and basically calling him the Messiah and fulfilling prophecy. And the Pharisees say to Jesus, they say, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." And he says, "I tell you, if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out." As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it and said, "If you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes. The days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, and you and your children within your walls, they will not leave one stone upon another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you." So we automatically see judgment occurring within Jerusalem, within this generation. we see these are the people that God is about to judge and is about to just do a mighty work. It's his coming, a sign of his coming within this generation. This is when all fulfillment of the prophecies will be fulfilled. And we hear Josephus saying this in his book that was written in 75 AD about basically the things in the past. We hear Josephus say, or we read, and he says, and this seems to have, to me, to have been the reason why God, out of his hatred of these men's wickedness, rejected our city. And as for the temple, he no longer esteemed it sufficiently pure for him to inhabit therein, but brought the Romans upon us, and threw a fire upon the city to purge it, and brought upon us our wives and children slavery, as desirous to make us wiser by our calamities. So even Josephus recognized the judgment in 70 AD. In Matthew 23, or actually real quickly, in Matthew 27:25, we read when Jesus was getting crucified, when he was about to get led to the crucifixion, and Pilate wanted to push this judgment off of himself because he wanted to let the Jews know it was their fault. The Pharisees and everybody stood up and said, let his blood be upon us and our children. So they basically called for judgment upon themselves. And then we read in Matthew 23, where Jesus begins to basically tell these Pharisees of what's about to happen, the woes that are about to happen, and the things, why they're being destroyed, why the destruction is coming upon their generation. And then in 24, we see Jesus walking with his disciples in front of the temple. And his disciples come up to him and begin to ask him questions. What will be the sign of your coming? When will you restore the kingdom to Israel? What will be the sign of the end of the age? And so on and so forth. And one thing, before we get into the text, I challenge you to read and consider what you think when you compare history, not the newspaper, and when you compare scripture, not end times novels, to what Jesus is saying in this story. In order to drive this point home and illustrate this, I want you to put yourself into the text. That way we can actually get the real context of what was going on here and how Jesus was answering his disciples in that time. So now we'll start our reading with Matthew 24.